Good morning. Got two more hands. Both of these hands I raised pre-flop and was facing a 3-bet from late position that I called. So let's start with hand number one. This was at a 10 NL table. I got pocket sevens under the gun. I opened for 3 big bets. And villain 8 in the cutoff raises 3 bets here. So what do I know about this villain? 32-17 player. His 3-bet pre-flop is 2%, 1 out of 56. What we know is his 3-bet range includes queens, aces, and ace king off. So he may be somewhat tight in his 3-betting range. That's what we've seen. And maybe he'll be a little bit tighter. Let's see what his position stats are on this. So 3-bet by position, he's really only done that from the big blinds. So it looks like he's raised those hands from the big blinds, hasn't 3-bet in late position, so he may be a little bit tighter. Let's add in just jacks and ace queen suited. Since even though we have 205 hands, he didn't really have a huge number of opportunities to 3-bet. And we know that he's raised at least ace queen and also ace king off. That's his range. I've got pocket sevens. It folds back to me. I think I've got. I could fold. Because I'm going to be behind. When you look at distributions, you've got basically 20 unpaired hands versus 24 paired hands. So I'm going to be behind more than 50% of the hands in his range. But I am getting decent price to set mine. It's 6 big bets more, and I kind of have an idea of what to do going forward. So, his c-bet flop is only 40%. If I call and then check to him and he checks that flop bet, chances are he probably has one of these unpaired hands, ace king, ace queen, which then opens up the possibility that I can take the pot away from him. So, having a backup plan of sorts when you set mine is actually a pretty decent idea. So I went ahead and called, and I hit jackpot. So king 7-9. The only hands that I'm going to be behind are pocket kings. And you're going to see that I am now whopping 85%, 86%. Now, I've seen some people would fire out a bet here, but I'm looking at this and think, okay, he can have ace king. There were 16 combos, but minus the one that we just appeared, we're now down to 12 combos of that. We have 6 combos of aces. I think all of those hands are going to bet along with the kings, but there's only 3 combos of kings out there. I actually think jacks and queens will probably check. I think ace queen would probably check too. But you do have the possibility that if I check, they may bet those. It's a question. I think they'll definitely fold. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and check. And he fires out a c-bet, which is half pot. So what is he going to c-bet? I think he's going to c-bet top pair over pair set, 2 pair. There is no open-ended straight draw. I don't have that in his range. I don't have backdoor flushes. I don't have ace high hands. So I think he's betting that, and I'm still way ahead of him. Now, if I check raise, I think he's going to probably call, definitely trip kings, and probably aces, ace king. I think this could be one where, based on his range, I can check call. However, if he c-bets with queens and jacks, then my check raise is definitely going to get a fold. Um, so it's kind of a question of how should we best proceed? I went with the check route, check call, see what he bets, and a three hearts comes out, which again doesn't change anything. Um, and now I can bet out again, or since I already checked once, I can check call. And it's kind of looking like I may have like king queen, king jack type hand. If I'm just going to check call, maybe even ace king. So he bets out again, half pot. Uh, what's he going to bet with? I still think he's going to bet top pair, over pair. I don't think you look at his C bet turn 0 out of 2. I think he's hit something. He's pretty honest with his C bets. So I don't think he's going to do it anymore with pocket pair below top pair, queens and jacks. If he would have bet the flop, uh, he did pick up a flush draw, so we'll leave that in there. So right now, the hand didn't really change. If he has trip kings, he has trip kings. So I still think he's going to bet 100% of his range. If he had jacks and queens in his range, yeah, definitely this turn C bet isn't going to be 100%, but I think it is here. And I just call again, and then the three of spades comes up. Now the question is, again, that three is not going to change anything. If he has pocket kings, he has me crushed. Simple as that. But comes down to, is he going to bet the full house? Yes. Is he going to bet aces? Is he going to bet ace king? So is he going to bet this top pair? Is he going to bet this over pair? And it just kind of comes down to the player. How do we think? How do we view him? I think even though he's loose and opens for raises on the hands he does play, he doesn't seem like he's overly aggressive. Like if he was overly aggressive, I think he'd have three bet stat would be much higher. And if you notice, I don't have any opportunity for a triple barrel by him. So, it kind of looks like he's a bit conservative. So on the river, he's bet 4 out of 14, but that's not when he's C bet all the way down. He's let out, donked 1 out of 5 times. He called bets, 0. He folded to bets 100%. I kind of think he's going to be real honest. He's only going to call with decent hands. And I kind of have a feeling that he might not bet these, especially top pair. He might kind of get scared and say, you know what, I've got a showdown value hand. Let's see what you have. Same thing with the over pair. I've got a showdown value hand. Let me just check and see what happens. Pot 77. I've got 71.8 bets. I think I probably should have bet, and I think I would have gotten called, but I didn't. I checked, and he checked behind, and he shows queens, which is kind of interesting because I didn't have the queens. I kind of assumed that he would have frozen, being afraid of that king. But if we go back and look at where it went wrong, it was right there. On the flop, he bet basically his entire range, and on the turn, he continued with that. And then the river, I think at that point, now he's got, maybe he'll bet that top pair. So maybe he'll bet 63% of the time. So we didn't get this one. We took the queens out of his range, but we can make a note now that he will fire a bet with less than top pair, fire at least a double barrel with less than top pair, and then not fire that last bet. So that's our hand number 1. Let's clear things out and get hand number 2 ready. All right, second hand, also under the gun. This is a 10 NL table. I've got Jack 10 of hearts. I went went ahead and opened for 3 big bets, and the cutoff raised. So what is he going to raise with? Now, unlike the first opponent, this opponent's a little bit different. Um, his 3-bet pre-flop range is 12%. It's going to be considerably higher, but we have kings and jacks in his 3-bet range. Let's check his positional stats and see when he is 3-bet. So he is 3-bet early position, mid position, cutoff. So he's doing quite a few 3-betting early on, which, out of 66 hands, maybe he got lucky and had some solid hands, but more than likely he's probably doing this with a wider range. So let's say we got something like this. That's 5%. He's 26-16, 26-15. So I'm actually going to give him a few more hands to kind of get him up a little bit better. That's probably being a little too generous, but we'll go with it. So that's his 3-betting range against my opening hand. I'm going to be behind because he has all these overcards and pocket pairs. This is probably a spot where I could have folded. We're at 140, 150 big blinds at the start of this hand. By calling, I'm out of position. I'm not even calling to set mine. So, the question is, why would I call? I could call with plans to take it down. I could get lucky. I can plan to see what the flop is, and if the flop seems like it's favorable and doesn't hit this range, I could always make a play at it and rep a high pocket pair. He'd only call with the pocket pair. So he's got, fold to C bets 50%. It doesn't have many time. He does C bet flop a lot, 86%. His C bet turns 2 out of 3, C bet river, so he seems to fire out bets quite frequently. So I did call. Not too thrilled about the call, but it is what it is. Flop. 8-7 of spades, 4 of hearts. So I flopped a backdoor flush draw. I flopped a gut shot. I've got 2 overs. Right now, I am going to be way behind him. 31% equity. So what's our plan? I think this plan is probably to call and see what the turn brings, possibly. You can always just fold it. This doesn't hit us. We've got, long shot draws to hit. And he's got, definitely ace, kings, queens, jacks, tens. If we're looking for a 9, he's got 9s in his range. You've got, 8s in his range. He could also have 10 jack. He has the spade draws. He's got 2 overs. There's a lot of cards where I'm just gonna hate my life if I call a flop, if I check a call the flop, and then he bets again. It's kind of getting risky. Now, is there value at betting it leading out? So if I lead out, what hands do I think he's going to call down with? Well, I think if I lead out, he's going to call down with most of his range here. So over pair, top pair, I think his flush draws. I bet his cut shots are going to call. Is his overcards going to call? Maybe. He may call once just to see what the turn is and then fold. He hasn't really been in turn position to face a C-bet. So it's kind of difficult to judge that. Let's see if we've got any other information on him. So flop calls. Called to bet on the flop 20% of the time. So it's not in a C-bet pot. Fold to a bet 80% of the time. This could have been a position where I could have led with a lot of draws, And even though I'm kind of behind, I think 9, a 10, a heart gives me opportunity to bet again, even a 5 and a 6, because, you know, possibility that I might have had pocket pair, and that 5 or 6 now gives me the straight. Uh, so I think there's a lot of possibilities um, with this hand if I choose to continue with it. Although folding probably isn't bad. So I did check, uh, and he checked behind. So he has his entire range, but let's see, can we exclude any stuff? So I think he would have bet all of these cards. Two pair and over pair and top pair. Probably his middle pair too. Um, but he doesn't have anything. Uh, so his ace high hands, his no made hands, he's going to have some of those. Does he have all of those? I don't know. Probably not. I think the flush draws out. Um, I think his gut shot he probably would have bet. His, I mean, his overcards. Nah, I think he doesn't. Maybe he all of his ace high hands he's just gonna check because he didn't hit anything on the flop, um, and he figures that I didn't either. Uh, he'll have his 2 card backdoor flush draws, his flush draw on pairs, his flush draw overcards. I mean, I think we've got 57%, which still he's ahead of me. But I think when you take out that flush draw, that's a big part of it. So um, I think we're gonna have to take out the ace high hands because I don't want the flush draw to continue. Because right now his ace high hands. Let's see if we can do that. Let's see if we can adjust what suited cards are here. So I think we will do hearts, clubs, and diamonds for ace king. For ace queen, and for ace jack. Did I not get ace jack right? All right, let me pause this and figure this out. All right, I've got to figure it out. So ace king, ace queen, ace suit, ace jack, we are leaving those the non-flush draws. So the hearts, clubs, and diamonds. And you'll see that when we go over it, ace king, there's only 3 combos. It's for those suits. Ace queen is 3 combos. Ace jack is only 2 combos because I have the blocker. So I think since we excluded the flush draws from him, we've got 56% that he's going to check um, on this board. So we're at 38%. And I think the check indicates some pretty solid weakness. So my plan once he checks is no matter what on the turn, well, not no matter what, a non-ace, non-king on the turn, I'm going to fire out a bet. And I'm going to make a pot size bet. Now, on the turn, that was, again, great card for me, gives me the straight. And I'm thinking now that since he didn't bet on the flop, he probably doesn't have the flush draw, doesn't have the spades. And the question is, with the spades, what was he going to call? I think he's going to call that lone spade. So the ace of spades, king of spades, he'll call a bet when I bet. So, I think when I bet, he's going to call the flush draw. I think the second nut flush draw. I'm not sure about the third nut flush draw. I don't think he's going to He doesn't have the open-ended straight draw in his range. Is he going to call with the gut shot? Maybe. Um, looking back, I don't know. I don't think he's going to be so crazy to call with a gut shot, especially for a pot size bet that I'm going to make. Is he going to call all of his pairs? Yeah, straights, flushes, straight flush draw. Yeah, if he has those, then good for him. I don't think he has sets, two pair, over pair, any of that in his range. What about the ace high hands, ace king, queen jack? Um, Ace Jack might be the only reasonable one that he would call, because it's a gut shot. But again, I don't think he's going to be crazy enough to make a call like that. I raised pre-flop, and then called his 3-bet, so my hand range is going to be strong to begin with. So I bet, and he calls. Now, why didn't I just check? Because I didn't. I know he's going to likely call with the ace of spades and the king of spades. I want to get value from those hands. That's why. So I bet, and he does in fact call, and then 7 of clubs falls. Now, that could be a scary card, because if he had 8s or 9s, that now gives him a full house. But I'm thinking now that with 8s and 9s, he would have fired a c-bet. He would have made a continuation bet, thinking that spades are going to call. So I'm not too worried about this 7. Now, what kind of value am I gonna get? I think he's gonna call straights, flushes, and quads. Was he gonna call anything else? I don't know. Good question. I mean, only ace high hand. He'd have to think that I'm bluffing. Uh, he has to think that I would be bluffing in order to make the call. But this kind of represents how I would play, even if I didn't have the straight. So his check on the flop indicated weakness. I fired the turn, and then I'm going to continue firing because to kind of rep the set, the 7, the 8, 9. So myself, I could have had ace, say ace queen with the, or ace king with the ace of spades. This mimics how I would have played anyway. So I continued firing it because I need to protect some of those hands that I don't have. Or some of those hands where I'm entirely bluffing. So I bet 58 as a pot, and surprisingly, he called me. So when he called, I thought, oh crap, maybe he has a spade, and he has jacks. So does he have jacks in his range at all? No, I took him out. I took them out on the flop because I assumed on that board that he would have bet his overcards, his jacks, but he didn't. So the question is, why didn't he? Is that a good play? I don't think so, because I think what I'm calling with, I've got ace king, ace queen in my range. I should have ace king and ace queen in my range. So what he did basically by checking behind is he gave me a free shot at catching the ace or the king that would have beat him. So he kind of opened himself to the problem. I think how he played this hand cost him the amount that he lost. So we started with like a 150. He's down to 63, so like 90 big bets. Did I play this, spectacularly? No, probably not. I probably shouldn't even have been in the hand with this. I should have folded pre-flop after he made the 3-bet. But I didn't think he would have had a pocket pair. And then now that kind of makes a little bit more sense as to why he called. So 9 of spades, 7 of clubs. I thought if I bet, these are the solid only ones in his range that he could possibly call, unless he thought I may be bluffing, in which case maybe he only calls with ace king as a bluff catcher. So, of the times he calls, 54% a bluff catcher. That's probably a little bit too much. Too many times to call. He's calling too frequently. So, hope you enjoyed these hands. We missed our reads on both of them, but make our notes of the players and we adjust. So look tomorrow for 2 more hands. Thanks for watching.